At Mom's funeral, I refused to let my sister speak. She screamed, "She chose me over you." I said, "No, she changed her will." As the priest paused mid-prayer, my aunt stood up holding something that could destroy me. My mom passed away in March, just after her 71st birthday. Liver cancer. It was brutal. One of those fast, vicious kinds that doesn't give you time to prepare. 1 week she was fine, walking her dog and making soup. The next she was yellow and shrinking in a hospital bed. I'm the one who stayed. I left my job in Nashville, moved back to Birmingham, and moved in with her. I did everything. I was cleaning her, feeding her, arguing with doctors. When the hospice nurse started coming twice a week, I had already memorized the sound of her coughs, when they were wet, when they were dry, when she was in real pain. I'm not telling you this for pity, just facts. I was there. Valerie wasn't. Valerie's my younger sister. 6 years younger. The favorite for most of our lives. She was the pretty one, the one who never got blamed for anything. When she stole $5,000 from our parents' emergency fund at 19, Mom said, "She's just lost. She'll find her way." When I got laid off and needed to move back home for a few months, it was, "You need to stand on your own feet." We weren't close. That's the polite way to put it. The last time Valerie saw Mom before the funeral, it was for 36 hours. She came in like a hurricane, talking about some retreat in Sedona, lecturing us about energy balance and drinking chlorophyll water. Mom was barely conscious by then. Valerie set up some kind of salt lamp by the bed, then left the next day. She didn't offer to pay for anything. Not the cremation, not the service, not even flowers. But when I told the family I'd be organizing the funeral, Valerie emailed me a long tribute she wanted read at the service. It was self-absorbed trash. Just stories that made her look good. Some of which I knew for a fact were lies. I didn't respond. She called me 3 times the week before the funeral, demanding a speaking slot. I ignored her. So the day of the funeral comes. Small chapel in South Birmingham. Old wood beams, dusty hymnals. It was raining. I was numb. I had barely slept in 3 weeks. People started filling the pews, neighbors, old co-workers, cousins we hadn't seen since Dad's funeral in 2013. Valerie arrived 15 minutes late wearing a white fur coat. I'm not making that up. White fur, inside a church. She made a scene hugging people like she was the widow, not the daughter who ghosted our mom. When the priest opened the floor for family to speak, I went up. I said what needed to be said. Mom's strength, her stubbornness, how she loved reading crime novels and baking oatmeal cookies. I thanked the nurse who stayed past her shift the night Mom passed. I got through it without crying, then nodded to the priest to continue. That's when Valerie stood up. "I'd like to speak," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The priest looked at me. I shook my head. Valerie took a step forward anyway. "She wanted me to speak," she said. I stayed seated. "She told me I was her favorite," she said, louder. "She said you were always bitter, controlling, cold. That's why she left everything to me." I stood up then, calmly. "No," I said. "She changed her will." You could hear people shift in their seats. "She left you nothing," I said. "She changed it 6 weeks before she died. Aunt Camille has the copy." Valerie's face cracked. "You forged it," she snapped. "You're broke. Everyone knows it. You did this to steal from me." I didn't say anything. I looked to the back row where Aunt Camille sat with her purse on her lap. She looked old that day, smaller than I remembered. But she stood, slowly, and pulled out a file folder. "I have both wills," she said. "The old one. And the new one. I also have something else." And she held up a sealed envelope. Everyone was quiet. She looked at me, not Valerie, and said, "You should sit down. Because once I read what's in here, nothing's going to be the same." My heart dropped. Because I had no idea what she meant. And I knew, deep down, this wasn't about Valerie anymore. The priest froze mid-sentence, Bible still open in his hands. Aunt Camille moved slowly toward the front of the chapel, envelope in hand, like she was carrying a live bomb. Everyone was watching her. Some people didn't even know who she was. She lived in Ohio and rarely visited, but in that moment, she owned the room. Valerie looked smug again, like she thought Camille was about to expose me as some con artist. She even smiled a little.
Me?
I was sweating. My shirt stuck to my back. I had no clue what Camille was holding. The Newell I knew about. I drove Mom to the attorney's office myself. But this envelope? That was new. And it scared the hell out of me. Camille stepped up to the altar, looked at the priest, and said, "This is part of my sister's final wishes." She gave it to me the night she changed her will. She said not to open it unless her daughters fought. And here we were. She opened it slowly, pulled out a single sheet of paper, looked at it, then looked straight at me. "Sit down, Aaron," she said. "This involves you." I didn't move. She began reading. This is a handwritten letter, notarized, dated 6 weeks before Annette passed. It says, "If my daughters argue over what I leave behind, let them both know this truth." Valerie crossed her arms. I clenched my fists. Camille kept reading. "When Erin left college in 2004, she told me it was because of money. It wasn't. She left because she was pregnant. She miscarried at 7 weeks. She didn't tell anyone. I found the paperwork when I was cleaning her room." Gasps. My knees nearly buckled. My face burned. The room spun a little. I couldn't breathe. Valerie's mouth dropped open, then twisted into a grin. Camille kept reading. She carried that pain alone. I never told her I knew, but I changed my will because I finally saw the truth. She was always carrying everyone else's burden, while Valerie always ran away from hers. Silence. Then murmurs. People shifting in their seats. Someone cried quietly in the back. I sat down. Valerie exploded. "This is manipulation," she yelled. "You're all eating this up because she's dead and can't be questioned." She lied. Erin's just a victim, right? Poor Erin. Always the martyr. She turned to me. "What else are you hiding?"
Huh?
"Want to tell them about what really happened to Dad's money?" Heads turned. "What are you talking about?" I said, my voice low. "Oh, don't pretend. Dad's retirement fund didn't just vanish. He told me what he suspected before he died." "You're lying." "I'm not. He said there were withdrawals. Thousands. And you were the one handling the accounts." That was true. I had been managing the finances near the end. But I never touched that money for myself. At least not in a way I thought was wrong at the time. Aunt Camille sat down quietly. She'd done her part. Now the room was watching me again. Valerie saw the opening and took it. "You all want to talk about secrets? Let's talk about how the golden daughter here drained our dads for a 1K behind his back. Maybe Mom didn't catch that before she died." And just like that, I was the one under fire. Again. I didn't respond right away. My throat felt tight, like I couldn't get enough air. Valerie's words were bouncing around the chapel like glass shards. People were looking at me now the way they used to look at her, suspicious, guarded, waiting to see if I'd crack. But here's the part no one in that room knew. Not even Camille. Back in 2012, when Dad was dying of congestive heart failure, I was the one managing his paperwork, paying the bills, handling all the calls with insurance. Valerie was off living in Denver with her second husband. Mom was falling apart, sleeping in a chair by Dad's bed, barely eating. One day, I opened his Fidelity account to move some funds to pay for a new lift chair. That's when I saw it. 3 large wire transfers. All to a PayPal account. All labeled consulting. Not mine. Valerie's. I didn't say anything back then. I confronted her quietly, off the record. She told me Dad offered to help her with a business idea she was working on. She said it was a loan. I checked with him later. He barely remembered. Just said, "Your sisters always needed a little help." But here she was now, calling me a thief. So I stood up. "I didn't take Dad's money," I said. "But you did." That hit her. Hard. "You think I didn't notice those transfers? You think I didn't keep the records?" She laughed. "You're bluffing." I still have the statements. I printed them in 2012. I keep copies of everything. Camille turned toward me, her eyes sharp. Why didn't you say anything? Because I was trying to protect what little piece we had left, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Because back then, I still thought family mattered more than pride. Valerie started to speak, but a voice cut her off. It was Uncle Ray, Mom's brother. He'd been quiet all day, sitting in the far corner by the stained glass window. A Vietnam vet, barely said a word at family gatherings. I saw her at the casino, he said. Everyone looked at him. Valerie, I saw you at Wind Creek Casino in Wetumpka. A week before Annette passed. You said you were here for a spiritual retreat. But you were at the high-limit poker tables. Dropped 5 grand in a night. Valerie's mouth opened, then closed. Thought you said you were broke, he added, almost casually. Silence. Then Camille spoke again. There's more. She pulled another document from her folder. A signed, sealed affidavit. This is from Annette's attorney, she said. He couldn't make it today, but he left this with me in case something happened. It outlines financial irregularities Valerie asked him to hide. She came to his office 3 months ago trying to get power of attorney signed, without telling Aaron or me. More gasps. Valerie took one step back, then another. You tried to take over her estate while she was on morphine? I said every word like a punch. She didn't know what she was doing anymore. Valerie snapped. She was confused. She thought I was you sometimes. She wanted me to help. No. She wanted you to stop pretending you were the victim. I was shaking now. Not from fear, rage. Years of swallowing it. Years of letting her rewrite history. The priest stepped aside. He knew this wasn't his fight. Camille looked at me, her voice low. She left you something else. In the safe deposit box. I didn't open it yet. But she said if Valerie ever started this kind of war, you'd know what to do with what's inside. I nodded. Because I suddenly remembered something Mom said to me in the hospital, barely conscious, her voice slurred with meds. If she tries to take what's not hers again, she whispered, you know where I put the rest. I thought it was nonsense. Drug talk. I was wrong. And now whatever was inside that box might just be the weapon I need to finally end this. The funeral ended in silence. No one sang the last hymn. The priest didn't ask us to bow our heads. Everyone just stood there, stunned, unsure if they'd witnessed a funeral or a courtroom. Valerie stormed out first. She didn't even wait for the final prayer. No epalegi. No acknowledgement. Just the sound of her heels on tile and the door slamming behind her. Camille handed me the key to the safe deposit box. Bank of Alabama, she said. Annette made me promise not to open it. Said it was yours to decide. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in Mom's old recliner with the lights off, holding the key. The rage wouldn't leave my chest. Neither would the guilt. The letter Camille read, about the pregnancy, felt like a gut punch. That secret wasn't supposed to follow me into the light. But now it had. The next morning, I went to the bank. I was the executor, so the paperwork was easy. Inside the box were 2 things, a sealed letter and a manila envelope. The letter was for me. In Mom's handwriting. Aaron, if Valerie tried to steal from you again, if she lied again, this will protect you. I didn't want to use it while I was alive. I still hoped she'd change. But she didn't. She never will. I'm sorry, I didn't say this to your face. I was ashamed. But you were right about her. Love, Mom. I opened the envelope. Inside were 3 printed email threads. Screenshots of Valerie emailing an elder care attorney about transferring the house title without Mom's signature. She'd forged a draft and sent it for review. There was also a recording on a USB stick. A nurse had captured Valerie yelling at Mom about giving her everything and threatening to make things legal if she didn't. I called Mom's lawyer. We filed a civil case the next day. It took 6 months, but we got a hearing. Valerie tried to claim I manipulated Mom while she was dying. She even brought in some life coach to testify she'd changed energetically. The judge wasn't impressed. The emails, the recording, the fake power of attorney paperwork, it all sank her. The estate was frozen. Valerie was cut out for good. the house, savings, insurance, all confirmed to me as sole beneficiary. Then came the IRS. Because when people start digging, they don't stop. Turns out Valerie hadn't filed taxes in 4 years. She owed over $60,000. And with her second divorce finalized, her ex-husband sued her for fraud too. She lost her apartment. Her car was repossessed. I didn't do any of that directly. But I didn't stop it either. I sent the judge's ruling to every extended family member. I let the truth sit in the open. And then I blocked her number. Last I heard, she was living out of a short-term rental outside Mobile, working part-time and pretending on Instagram that her life was in transition. Mine isn't perfect. I still miss my mom every day. That letter broke me open in ways I didn't expect. But now I own the house she died in. I'm fixing it up slowly. No salt lamps. No fake peace. Just truth. And quiet, which is all I ever really wanted.